Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second viewing where we view things twice so you can listen once. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Dan.
And welcome back to an episode of the TSV Podcast, everybody. This week's episode is a fun one. It's a recap of sorts. It's a look back at times past, times grown, times
to come.
Times to come, too. We'll get there. And it's a lot of fun because this episode, we're going to be looking back at 2017 so far. Now, we did one of these episodes almost exactly a year ago, about 2016 so far. Believe it or not, that makes sense. And I remember that being one of the most haphazardly episodes we've ever made, actually, looking back at it. It was just a mess. But one thing I really enjoyed about it was talking about, of course, the movies we like this year and also the things we're looking forward to in the coming year. So what me and Dan here are going to do is give our top 5 films of the year so far, individual lists.
And in order, so we're going to start at number 5 and move our way back up to number 1, which would be our favorite movie we've seen so far.
Exactly. And after that, we'll probably take a break of some kind and come back to talk about films we're excited to see this year that haven't come out yet that we're anticipating.
Exactly, and there actually might be a lot to talk about in that half of the podcast. Yeah, not that there isn't in the first, but just that the first list is a little bit more defined based on the nature of how we're doing it.
Yeah, and like I'll be frank too, like just going off that, I think like so far this year has been a little weak for good movies. It's been a good year for like all good movies, like all right movies. Yeah. But it's I mean, there's not a lot of heavy hitters so far, I'll be honest.
Right. So far you're totally right. There hasn't been any massive kind of club bangers, if you will.
That said, of course, I mean a lot of fucking good movies don't come out till like November, December. Honestly.
That's true. That's why July's always tough.
It's a rough patch. Of course, you have seen some good stuff though. So, I mean, is there anything?
When does Oscar season start? In I can't remember.
Oscars are in February, so I mean, more or less, Oscar season is kind of in tune with Golden Globes, which is in tune with.
But like
the SAG.
As far as movie releases, like what movies in what months are considered for?
I think it's September to December.
September to December.
Or wait, how does it work? It's like. Oh, fuck. I know it
definitely skips January.
It ends at December. I want to say it's like 6. So probably I think it's July to December. I'm pretty sure, or like June to December, something like that. I could be totally wrong, but you're right though. It skips over like.
There's a couple of months that are missed. Yeah,
which
where
is why
the studios can dump their endless trash.
Yeah,
Shout out to our boys at Red Letter Media.
We get fuck you, it's January because of that, because they just dump whatever they want on us. But even before we get into these lists, there's a few movies I think we want to bring up that have come out this year that we haven't had a chance to see yet. I think one that we both want to talk about a little bit is The Big Sick.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. The Big Sick. And it does make my list in the later half of this podcast. It's very much a movie that I'm looking forward to. It's based on a true story. It's about Kumail Nanjiani. Kumail Nanjiani, falling in love with his wife, and it is co-directed by his wife.
Right.
I want to say her name is Emily.
I don't know.
I'm not 100% sure. I think it's Emily. And yeah, basically it's them telling the story of their love story, and it's kind of a comedy movie.
Yeah,
romantic comedy,
and it was like highly received at Sundance this year. I mean, I forget how much it was sold for, but it was like a ridiculous amount of money.
Oh, and fucking Everybody Hates Raymond is in this.
Fuck, really? That guy's in? Oh, he is in this. Yeah, you're right.
He plays the dad.
What's his first name? Raymond or
Ray Romano.
Ray Romano. There you go. Cool guy. He has a great part in Funny People, actually. It's a hilarious scene where he's at the bar with Adam Sandler and they're talking to Eminem.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's hilarious. So yeah, The Big Sick, but that is actually already out. So we're just talking about things that we're trying to watch. Another one would be A Ghost Story with our boy Molester by the Sea, Casey Affleck.
Oh right.
So shout out to that. Also Rooney Mara is in it. Rooney Mara, total babe. And apparently Casey Affleck is just wearing a sheet as if he's a ghost on Halloween throughout the movie, and Rooney Mara eats a pie for 25 minutes straight.
Oh.
I'm looking forward to it. Highly anticipated. But I mean, all jokes aside, apparently it is quite beautiful, and it's a really good movie, so I'm looking forward to that. And another one would be Dunkirk. I feel like at this point, anything you could say about it could be said. We haven't seen it, so we can't even talk about it.
You know, since you've mentioned the ratings, to me and how it's been received. I do want to see it now, but it definitely wasn't my first choice for movies that are out that I want to see because I'm just war movies. I don't know. I was never the guy who picked up the war video games as a kid. I didn't have the little army men except for the parachute guys because you could throw them off buildings. But I could really care less about the whole war setting.
I mean, it probably makes sense because we grew up together, and I feel the same way about it as you do. I just could never care less. I mean, respect to our soldiers, I guess. Support our troops.
Yeah, support our troops.
But this is not my kind of a genre, more or less.
Exactly.
That being said, though, I mean, Christopher Nolan, guy's got a good track record. It seemed like an interesting
because this is
topic for him to work with.
And this is where they get in comparison to his most recent movies. This is the story of guys getting stuck on
naval ships. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, is it naval ships or was it on that fucking island and bystanders came to help? Am I getting this mixed up with another movie?
I don't know. Like honestly, guys, war is terrible, but it's all very similar.
It kind of blurs together for me.
It kind of Robin Thicke's it every now and then.
Wow. Too soon, maybe?
I don't think so. That guy's...
I'm going to go no comment on that one.
But anyways, though, it's apparently just fucking amazing film, so... Shout out to that, I guess. We'll try and watch that sometime.
I'm going to throw one out there that I know you've seen, and that's Personal Shopper.
Right. That came out last year already.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Yeah.
Then I'm fucking out to lunch.
My bad boy on that. But you should keep game on that.
Looks like, I should keep game on that. Yeah. I have watched the majority of it, maybe a little bit drunk and half asleep. So it basically just needs to be rewatched.
Fair enough. Okay, so now let's get into our lists. One kind of... free for all, or I guess a freebie I decided to give us was that we'd put one honorable mention, kind of just talking about a film that we saw this year in 2017 that actually came out in 2016.
And in this case, we both actually agreed on it without having talked about it first. Mind you, I hadn't come up with a number 6, and as soon as you mentioned it, I was like, I think it almost needs to be in my...
I thought you were talking about Silence. Like, I don't want to put you on the hot seat here, though.
Okay, well, we decided that one did come out in 2016 in December, right?
It did, yeah.
I do want to fucking talk about that movie. Let's bring it up.
Shout out.
But... What a fucking...
I'm just saying.
You saw the bus coming, and then you just lobbed me right the fuck under it.
Speaking about buses, my pick is Patterson.
Fuck you.
So, Patterson is a great flick starring my boy Adam Driver, in which he drives a bus. Now, this movie here really took me by surprise, only because Jim Jarmusch hasn't really ever struck me as the auteur or art director that a lot of people give him praise for. Not that I've had anything against the guy. There hasn't been a single film of his that has really struck me that well or struck me so hard as like some other people have. That being said, I've really enjoyed a lot of his work. Only Lovers Left Alive is a good movie, and countless others actually. But Patterson was if I would have saw this last year, this would have been my number 2 of last year for sure. If not, maybe number 1. This is almost American Honey levels for me. I really just thought this movie was honestly poetic, and it's a movie about poetry and about the creative process and just about life and how life can have meaningless conflict that is only personal to the people within those circumstances, and it just describes that so beautiful to me. Like I cried during this movie, to be honest with you.
It is a really beautiful story. And it is a fantastic movie.
Well, and the story is actually really almost bland. The plot to this movie is so almost non-existent. It's just about it's about the characters and how they interact in the world that's been set up.
But it's just like ultimately relatable in a lot of different ways. Where
I think it's because a lot of times life doesn't have to be all about conflict, or doesn't have to be all about scenarios or situations. Life is just, a routine in a lot of ways. And although that might sound bleak and maybe negative, there's positivity and truth to that, I think.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. I totally agree with you that Patterson is a fantastic movie. My choice is...
Well, you also like Patterson, for the record.
My choice is Silent. I do love Patterson, but I have... chose Silence for a couple of different reasons. First of all, this movie really hit me hard. It was, a really interesting performance by Liam Neeson. I'm going to leave it at interesting. And then our boy Andrew Garfield playing something that was something that seemed very new. But I did overall like the story. It was a part of history that I kind of overlooked, and so looking into it afterwards was very, very neat. And that was Christianity in Japan. Basically, well, I don't know when that was, after World War One.
God, I can't even remember, to be honest with you. I saw this film.
It was
So
the
many months ago
annihilation
now.
of Christianity existing in Japan.
And Christian persecution for that.
Yes.
And it's a thing you don't hear about a lot, actually, in terms of, well, the topic of Christian persecution, but also these real-life events as well.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. So it was a very, very neat story. It was kind of more the history aspects of it were very neat for me. It's like I watched The Lost City of Z, and that's a very historical movie, or is based off true events. Excuse me. And Silence did it for me, where The Lost City of Z didn't as much. I don't know if that's a good way to put it.
Totally. Lost City of Z I thought was honestly boring, to be honest.
Exactly. But Silence, which took a similar idea, like taking an accurate, or like a part of history and expanding upon it, though a lot of it was obviously some forged details. They're based on a true story, though.
Well, Silence is a cool movie, too, because, like, it's another Scorsese epic, which we haven't seen in a while. We've seen him really, exercise his creativity in terms of like production design and set design, and also, the action films he makes, and these kind of like mobster and scum of the earth kind of characters that he's so well at telling. And he kind of went back and did some of his, some of his older work really, and made an epic. And this movie, I think, is like, how long is this goddamn movie?
It's pretty long.
It's like just over 3 hours, which is Kyle's favorite length of a film.
2 hours and 15 minutes, though?
Fuck that. That's the worst length for a film. That shit pisses me off. If you got a movie that's like 70 to 90 minutes, I'm sold. I'm into it. Anything over that, I hate it. Anything under 3 hours, I hate it. 3 hours, though, solid
Fucking
time.
perfect.
I'm into it. No, Silence is great, man. I think Silence is a film, actually. Like, I feel like I don't have enough, not a right, but I just don't have enough knowledge to talk on it. I feel like it's a film I'd like to revisit, honestly.
It is really
it's very
super
dense in the history aspect that you're talking about. But,
sure.
even the imagery they show and stuff.
That's what drew me in was the historical aspect of it. Though, like, in theory, if you presented to me on a piece of paper 2 ideas, and one said The Lost City of Z and that story, and the other one said the persecution of Christians in Japan, just based on ideas, not knowing any chosen directors or anything, if some random guy just said, what do you think of these 2 ideas, I would have said The Lost City of Z every time, that idea and that story, and finding the lost treasure. I would have instantly thought that was more interesting. However, after watching both of those films, which I think are very easy to compare.
Well, they have this like journey to a foreign land aspect,
Yeah, for sure, and based on historically accurate events. That after watching both of them, Scorsese did a fantastic job.
Well, that's a testament to his craft. I mean, the guy's one of the best to ever do it, and
for sure.
He just proves it time and time again. Also, Andrew Garfield's performance is actually underrated in this movie, like legitimately underrated, because he got nominated for Best Actor for Hacksaw Ridge, which is Christian propaganda as far as I'm concerned. And then he didn't get nominated for this film, which is like
the better performance of the two. Almost.
And like just the actual films aside, definitely like his performance is almost hokey in Hacksaw Ridge. It's almost as if they like forgot what movie they were voting for, and they just said, "Oh, that Andrew Garfield one. We'll get that kid that Andrew Garfield one." And they just wrote down Hacksaw Ridge instead of Silence, because it's honestly it's dumbfounding, because I'm not just saying that, like, he's actually really good in this movie.
No, especially towards the end, and I don't want to give anything away, but I think that being said, that was our
that's our pre-show
that was our precursor. That was our honorable mentions, both Patterson and Silence. Silence is kind of cheating because it did come out very, very late 2016, but we're gonna let it slide.
That's fine. Still
this time around.
Still works. All right, Daniel, do you want to get into your number 5 of 2017 so far?
My number 5 of 2017 is Logan.
Logan's a fun one.
You know what? Hard for me to believe that there's a superhero movie on my number. Well, is there? I mean, I guess the whole market is flooded with fucking superhero movies.
I mean, it was about time that one of them would be good.
Yeah,
some of them would be good. For
sure.
Like, of course, there's been good ones in the past, obviously, but more or less, this was one that just surprised me. I did not expect to like this one that much.
No, absolutely not. And it was perfectly serious and sort of comic booky at the same time.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like it had this mildly hokey element towards the end in the boss fight, but it still had this like serious undertone, and
Right.
it was dramatic, and it had kind of the perfect reveal of a new character who I shouldn't name for spoiler.
No, I mean it's not even like, I think just talking about the film's quality in general is probably why you enjoyed it, and it's a strong film that knows what bounds it wants to get to and also knows its tone, and that to me is like hands down the biggest issue in Hollywood right now is tone. No one knows what the fuck the tone of the film should be. And it's a rampant issue in so many films.
That might have a lot to do with the fucking 28 different tones coming from 28 different writers in the writer room.
Oh yeah, I mean Kong Skull Island. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. That movie made no sense in a way. I mean, anyways, I won't get into that again. But yeah, no, I'm with you, man. I think Logan's just a good example of telling a story in kind of an interesting way, because we've never seen Wolverine this way before.
No, we haven't.
Doing it well.
Oh, and it's a great way to finish off a series. Like it took a slightly new approach with similar characters, and it absolutely just summed up the series very well.
They're apparently doing more X-Men movies just without Wolverine. That doesn't surprise me much.
Right.
Or at least, this iteration of Wolverine.
Well, Hugh Jackman's got to be pretty fucking done with playing Wolverine now. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
He's made a pretty good career for himself just out of Wolverine alone.
He said this is his last time doing it. So, I mean, whatever, good for him. I mean,
I'm sure that he'll resurface as make a
happen,
fag appearance in 5 years.
Yeah, like a cameo. And also, holy shit! Did not realize how much money this thing made. It only cost $97 million and made $616 million.
That is honestly, this
That's
is an
respect.
example of Hollywood doing it well.
Because they didn't
on
even
a
have
fucking respectable budget. Now, we have talked about this movie before, I think, on Off the Cuff.
We did, and we'll, so if, we can hear more of our thoughts there. But even at the time of us recording that, although I do remember it being successful financially, it's obviously surpassed that even more.
Well surpassed that,
So
yeah.
that's awesome. I'm happy to see that, I think.
I agree. So, Kyle, what was your number 5 choice?
Number 5 is a movie we've already talked as well before and Off the Cuff, and I guess we can preface saying that some of these will fit there, of course. But we're just we're giving a refresher. Maybe our opinions have changed a little bit. Maybe they've been better or worse. I don't know.
This is an example of an opinion that's kind of escalated. For me.
I think. Yeah. So this is one we could link in the show notes about, like, we've talked about it before, and of course this one is colossal in the number 5 slot for me.
Right, starring
Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway.
Hathaway. Hey, is that pretty good?
That's pretty good.
Thanks, man. Also, Jason Sudeikis, which if you ever look at the way Sudeikis is spelt, it doesn't look like Sudeikis.
It looks like Sudeikis.
It's just kind of weird. It freaks me out a bit for some reason, but I'll leave that alone for now. No, Colossus is a cool movie. This is a monster movie and a story about depression, kind of. And honestly, like, full disclosure, the movie's messy. It's
it's a little bit too complex almost.
It's poorly constructed in a lot of ways. And I was struggling with some other flicks to put on here, like Split or even Spider-Man. But, I think when I'm looking back at the years so far, I'm looking at quality, but I'm also looking at films that have, stuck with me. And Colossal's definitely an example of that, where maybe it's in the 5th spot, so I'm not, putting it high on the list, because I think it's, a good example of excellent filmmaking, or exceeding levels of good filmmaking. I just think that it has unique qualities that I think should be merited. I actually
some original ideas.
I even wrote a little thing for a local website I can link in the show notes as well. You can hear some more thoughts on that. So I won't talk about it at such a long length. But I do recommend Colossal. It was a movie that actually was getting a lot of hype coming out of Sundance and TIFF and other festivals. And I think it just had a kind of a lukewarm, polarizing response. And if you're someone who was on the fence about it, I'd highly recommend checking it out.
It definitely brings questions about filmmaking and direction and complexity and refinement to the table. So yeah, I also agree. It's something to check out, even though it didn't make my list.
Yeah, no, it's not for everyone, but I think it's worth checking out.
Yeah.
So number 4 for you, what's that gonna be?
Number 4 for me is another fucking superhero movie. Actually, Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Spidey.
Yes, man.
That's cool, dude. That's cool. So, like, we just talked about this not too long ago, and this is pretty fresh in everyone's heads, probably still a bit. So, what are your thoughts on Spidey now? Obviously good, I guess.
Well, first of all, because the market is like ridiculously flooded with superhero movies, we have to talk about superhero movies, whether we want any more superhero movies or not. It doesn't fucking matter. We're gonna end up talking about them because there's so many of them, and it's what Hollywood is spending shitloads of money on. So, I think this and Logan are both examples of movies that did what they set out to do well. Right. Captivated an audience, had a clear target audience. It told the story well. There was few tone issues, if any, in this movie.
No, I think I was immediately scared, like the first 2 minutes of this movie with the introduction to Michael Keaton's character, and I was like, oh god, please no, this is. And then it really it subverted any expectation you had on it.
It totally was a really nice balanced superhero movie that felt realistic and not fucking world altering and changing. It felt like what Spider-Man is supposed to be, and for that reason,
it's number 4.
Spider-Man is number 4 for me.
I mean, I'm with you on that. Like this movie is just one. Like, it's fun. It's not like it takes itself serious enough because it's Spider-Man, and Spider-Man has stakes, and he should feel like it has stakes. But it's not dark and dreary. No one really dies a whole lot. It's just he's your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly.
He's Spidey, man.
It's
and he's
Spidey.
also not trying to save the world. The world doesn't depend on him.
That was a huge part of it.
Just like his neighborhood is in peril, and he's friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Matter of fact, fucking Tony Stark is right around the corner going, whatever, fucking kind of a thing. Yeah. And here Spidey-Man is fucking proving himself by taking care of the smaller battles and proving that there is he brings some stuff to the table. So it is.
Yeah, and I'll say the Tony Stark bits are the only reason why it didn't make my list, to be completely honest.
Right.
Not that I think it made the film a weak film or even really brought it down in terms of pacing. It worked. Honestly, it worked in the context of the film. And just looking at it, it's
a Marvel movie that has to tie it to all their other Marvel movies.
It pissed me off just enough not to list it. I'll put it
exactly. It's the franchise that's kind of frustrating because they keep pumping out these fucking movies.
Yeah, they just can't help but do it.
And the fact that they had to lump this in with the other categories of other movies, which fine, I get that that's what they're doing, and I get that they're building a universe, but still, it's kind of why couldn't we have a nice Spider-Man Homecoming standalone movie? That would have been cool. We don't live in
that world. That's just not a reality.
Unfortunately not.
I'll get into my number 4, I guess.
Yeah.
My number 4, the movie we just talked about, of course, is Logan. Shout out to my boy Logan Paul. Everyone join the Low Gang.
Oh my goodness.
That's my boy. Gang.
Yeah,
Logan style.
Gang. It's every day, bro.
Team 10. London is my city. Or England is my city. That would have been correct if you said London. Anyways, right besides the point. No, actually, we already talked about it enough, so I won't dwell. But Logan, I thought was actually it was what I needed, honestly, because we had been seeing so much bullshit, and continue to after this, unfortunately. But at the time, it was just I didn't have any faith in superhero movies, due to what Daniel was talking about, with the overabundance of them in the market, and just the fact that even the ones that were coming out, I don't have an issue with them inherently. It's just the ones that even are being released don't have much of artistic or creative merit to me that make them meaningful or memorable to me.
It's like steamrolled garbage. Honestly, it's like taking a built brand already and capitalizing on a few of them and mashing them all together. It's like it just feels like a dirty cesspool of used ideas.
It's like if you were to take all those cesspool ideas into a Microsoft Excel sheet and just calculate how they should be done to every single fucking scene ever made, that's these movies. It's just calculated so precisely, and it feels that way. They feel robotic, but even though I'm sure some of that went into the creation of Logan feels so its own thing. Kind of how you're talking about Spider-Man, how you wish you could just have a Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that's how we felt with Logan. Of course, it has other X-Men characters and aspects of the universe. But, it's so far removed, even from, something like Days of Future Past, or I never saw the Apocalypse film, but would you say that's removed from it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It just is different, and it is its own thing.
Yeah, even in terms of color palette, it feels like a fucking Mad Max movie a lot of the time. It's so so versatile in a lot of ways, and it's really gripping. And I can't speak any more highly of it in a way in terms of the context of its film of this film in particular. If you haven't seen Logan yet, Peep Game. I think it's really good, and of course,
I totally agree.
Hugh Jackman gives a great performance.
Do you remember the time when you could sit down and watch a series with your dad, like the first two, or like the 3 movies of this, or the 2 movies of that, or even this, the however many Star Wars movies? Remember when you could just watch like a collection of movies, like a trilogy?
Yeah, I mean, I want to blame Harry Potter for that, because he started pumping out like 8 of them.
Because we're going to fucking be with our kids watching 39 fucking superhero movies.
I will not be. I'll tell you right now, I will not be. I refuse to. Like, if you're trying to watch Age of Ultron blind right now, you have no idea what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
You gotta watch, like, honestly, I think, like, 6 to even understand that. If you're trying to watch Iron Man 3, arguably the best Iron Man, I'll stand by that. You still gotta watch, like, 5 movies before that for it to make any sense.
That is kind of true.
It's a lot of, yeah, no, I mean... That's just too bad. But what's your number 3, man?
Let's move on to number 3. For me, it is John Wick 2.
Deuce. Bigelow. European
Wow.
Gigolo.
Like what? First of all, I loved John Wick 1. I love action movies in general. I'm generally a Keanu Reeves fan.
Yeah, shout out to Keanu.
And I like the whole idea of building like a spy kind of action underworld. I absolutely love that.
Would you call it a spy universe?
Fuck no.
Is there a John Wick universe coming up right now?
I'm hoping that they're going to cap it at like 3. Is really what I'm hoping they're going to cap it at. It would be a fantastic trilogy and fucking push it aside and move on to the next idea. That would be awesome. If I could buy John Wick 1, 2, and 3, fucking boom.
There's going to be like 25 fucking John Wick movies.
God damn it, don't say shit like that. Why can't they do it like 21 and 22 Jump Street? It's like they did the 2, they were good, fucking called it quits.
They're making a 3rd one, by the way.
God fucking damn it.
It's a crossover with Men in Black. I can't make this shit up.
This sounds fucking horrible. Okay.
I'll take the back seat, though, because I haven't even seen John Wick 1, so I haven't seen number 2. So you like this a lot. Tell me why.
It's an excellent action movie. The story is relatively simplistic. There's some really cool world building that happens in the movie, and some awesome action scenes. The audio and the sound effects are great, and it just basically they made a really well done action movie, updated for 2016 and 17 for or 15 for John Wick, I think.
Does it live up to the original film?
I have never seen the original.
Really?
Actually, yeah, never seen the original. But these were fucking fabulous. They were awesome, dude. I absolutely loved it. I love the world building. I'm looking forward to seeing.
Wait, so you didn't see John Wick 1?
I saw John Wick 1.
Oh, I didn't know I meant just that's what I meant, like the original. I wasn't sure if there are originals. I'm just saying, like.
I don't think there are. That I was kind of shocked when you said that, actually. If there is originals, feel free to correct us in the comments. But
I have no idea. I meant John Wick 1, sorry.
To my understanding, yes, I saw John Wick in chronological.
Because I was about to get very surprised, like, shit, you liked it this much? You didn't even see the first one? That's pretty impressive.
No, I liked John Wick 1 so much, I had to fucking see John Wick 2 as soon as I possibly could. And I think I thought they were both fantastic fucking action movies. Mind you, I'm a sucker for action movies like the Bourne Identity, Supremacy, Ultimatum, all those series. Like,
Bourne? Just Bourne? Jason Bourne?
That one's a little more lukewarm for me, but anyways.
I never did see it, I can't say.
And then there's one spin-off, Legacy, Bourne Legacy.
Oh, yeah, with Hawkeye.
Yeah, with Hawkeye.
Actually, wait, does that mean Jason Bourne's in the Marvel Universe?
I don't know.
I think he is.
No, he's not.
Fact check.
So, but yeah, John Wick 2, if you're looking for a well put together, exciting action movie, and you want to be, you kind of want to be left floored, this is the movie for you.
Deal. Cool.
I think it's fantastic. Yeah.
I'll Peep Game. I've been meaning to. I'll definitely watch the first one, though, and get there eventually. I'll go into my number 3. If that's cool.
Yeah.
My number 3 is Get Out. Now, this is the one Jordan Peele directed, of course, that came out this year. I guess, comedy thriller of sorts.
I don't even know if I would call it I guess it's kind of a comedy. There's some comedy relief elements.
There's way too much. There's way too much comic relief for it not to be a comedy. There's literally moments. And some of my favorite moments of this film is where there's like these tense, like horror like sound effects going on, and everything's like do, and then he calls his buddy on the phone. He's like, "Hey man, how's it going? How you doing?" And it's just like this deadpan kind of like almost a quietness on the other end, and
it is cool the way they contrast the comedic elements.
It almost reminds me of like it's not as zany as this, but it's like kind of a similar feel of like certain scenes from like a scary movie film done really well. I wouldn't say like the overall tone and feel of a scary movie.
Well,
but
they
like, take
way more on the comedy side.
Exactly.
Like if you balance the scale almost, or.
And I mean, if we're talking about like getting tone right, Get Out's just so fucking ingenious. And this is a movie I only actually gave a 3.5 out of 5 originally, but it's grown on me so much. I've seen it a couple times since.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's just aspects of this movie that just feel like the hints of a classic in a way, honestly. Yeah. I think this is the kind of film that people will be going back to. I would say especially horror fans in a lot of way. We'll be going back to 10, 15 years from now and saying this was a change in horror done well or thrillers done well. Again, we don't have much like knowledge in this because I actually hate horror movies, full disclosure. But this, even if you were to lump it in that category, I think is just doing a lot of things right, and it's actually just good filmmaking because it's telling a story. It's
like borderline thriller.
Yeah, it's telling a story in a effective manner that's not shoehorned, or it's not like counting on gore or counting on so much suspense. It's really just about the characters, and it's about the tension the characters are in and the circumstances they found themselves in. And it also plays with the audience's expectation of how certain characters should be acting. And it even starts, not necessarily creates moral dilemma, but it creates, pushes the buttons on like your preconceived notions on certain socioeconomic ideas in ways that it almost has like... I just didn't expect it to, even though I had some idea it would be, and it's just really smart. And I don't know, I wouldn't mind maybe talking about it at a later date more about it. But I think Get Out is a smart, funny, and creative horror film.
It's overall entertaining horror thriller comedy.
Yeah, I fuck with it. I'm into it. I .com it. If I owned GetOut.com, I'd be repping that right now.
Damn. Wow.
That's all I got to say.
I think we should leave it there, and I'm going to jump into number 2, which you guessed it, folks. Get Out.
I'll say this to that. Get out of here.
Get out of town.
Get it? Because it's Get Out.
Get Out. Well, I don't think there's much left to be said about this movie. I enjoyed it just as much as you did. It's fantastic. It really kind of maybe opened me up to future horror movies more than I have in the past, because like you mentioned, I'm not a huge horror fan either. Thrillers I would fuck with a little bit more, but this would potentially open the door for horror movies and thrillers to come out in the future. So I appreciate it for doing that, and I think I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to horror movies. I just think, generally speaking, they're of a lesser quality, and I would just, I'd rather watch movies that look better.
I agree. I agree.
I mean, yeah. All right. Also, I guess, also just say, I think a bunch of the movies we just talked about, we have other off-the-cuff songs, so I'll link all of those.
Yeah,
so you
for
can,
sure.
If you want to hear more thoughts on it, you can hear it there.
We have covered a lot of these.
Okay. I guess my number 2, oh, God. Do I last minute do a quick change?
It's up to you, boy.
No, I'll keep it here. So number 2 is Baby Driver for me. Now, Baby Driver is fan-fucking-tastic. I liken this film to a film like Back to the Future, or even something like The Nice Guys we were just talking about a couple weeks ago.
For sure.
And it only reason I say that, not even in terms of like similarities in the specific films, it's about that feel or that vibe, if you will, that it's fun, it's accessible, and it's entertaining. And it does all those things not only well, but it excels in doing that because it's of a higher quality. It's not only that, but it's good filmmaking and it's good story structure. And Edgar Wright just fucking knocked it out of the park with Baby Driver.
He did, and this is almost out of his territory. Well, considerably out of his reach in his last few films, which is the
Cornetto trilogy. Yeah, whatever.
Exactly.
I never did see that last one. The
World's End. It's pretty good. I the first 2 are much better, but it's still a good movie. I would still recommend it.
I've been meaning to watch that for years, but just in terms of Baby Driver, I mean, you see those tried and true Edgar Wright moments in it. Of course, you see the...
But in a different way, like he almost doesn't do it too much. Like,
well, he slows it down a bit, you know, and the more I think about it, it's like when you take the Cornetto trilogy as a trilogy, maybe that's how it was supposed to be. You know, because even if you look at the Cornetto trilogy and then you look at something like Scott Pilgrim, Scott Pilgrim has those aspects of Edgar Wright, but it still is Scott Pilgrim. Do you know what I mean? And I would maybe more so start to compare Baby Driver to that film rather than the Cornetto trilogy.
I agree, because it's a little bit more standalone. It's a little bit more its own thing.
It's its own thing, exactly. And God damn it, is that just the best way to put it? Because this honestly feels like a very accessible Tarantino film. It feels like if...
That's a really good way to put it. It's an intro to good classic filmmaking and good script writing, as a matter of fact.
Well, I don't know. And a lot of people were having issues with the romance in this movie. And, I mean, sure, maybe just some of the weaker... parts of the screenplay, but honestly, the way those were put on screen is what gripped me into this movie. People said it did not have an emotional connection, but God, that's what sold me for it. I really, you know, the opening sequence, as amazing and as interesting and as well done as it was, to me it felt a little trite. It felt a little bit, it felt a little unoriginal, but done well, if that makes any sense. But as soon as, like, the characters became involved and there was the stakes of the characters and there was this importance on relationship, that's when I was sold. And I was like, this is actually beautiful. Like, their relationship felt so giddy to me. I almost had, like, this feeling of, like, puppy love when, like, you know, you meet someone you like for the first time. I felt that. I really did. There was, like, sparkles in this laundry room scene, and it wasn't, like, heavy-handed or anything. It felt so... well crafted to be like an old school, like, 50s love story, and that's what he was presenting to you in the modern age. It was great.
I agree, and I think I agree for the most part. I think I absolutely love the movie. I'm totally floored and ready to see it again as soon as I can get out to the theater to see it or wait until it comes out. I think there was a little bit lacking in romance, but I think it maybe reflects the era that we live in today a little bit more, because I think even 20, 30 years ago, seeing someone was enough to know that you were in love with them, when today people are a little bit more weary to make decisions like that. There's a little bit more testing that goes on in relationships, and I think relationships as a whole maybe have gotten a little bit more complex, so us watching something that's so beautifully simplistic in some ways, obviously visually it's gorgeous, and they really show off.
I can understand the gripe. I could understand the gripe because, in a way, the rest of the film is very complex and not simplistic. So when you have these aspects thrown in that are very simple, it's a little jarring, and you kind of want more. You want a bit more explanation. Yeah. But for me, honestly, it was enough. It was enough. I didn't want any more. I didn't want any less. It felt right because in the context of Baby and the love interest, it made sense. To me, It made sense in the context of those two characters. I mean... in the grand scheme of things, I get it to be a gripe, but I just personally didn't feel that way.
I could have done with... you notice how there was a scene in the movie where I can't remember her name, Janet, Janine, Diane. I don't know. I can't remember his love interest's name, but Baby and her are having a conversation at the diner, and that was kind of the prelude to their relationship. I could have done with, like, maybe one more scene similar to that after they'd already been in a relationship, or after there was the sense of danger, or maybe it was in this, like, honeymoon phase of their relationship where they were, like, maybe they spoke a little bit more when they were out at dinner.
I mean, honestly, I don't even care if they didn't. I think it was just simply a love at first sight kind of idea. I rolled with it.
I respect that. I like it. Yeah. I don't have any huge gripes with it. I think if there was something to pick at in this movie, which there's very little, that would be the point to talk about. Right. But I did absolutely love the movie, and actually in contrast to you, the opening scene is really what got me, and I don't know if it was, like, nostalgic almost to what I had seen in other movies or comparing it to other movies subconsciously, but there was something about it that I was just, like, already having fun.
Yeah, the movie throws you right in. I don't know, is this a good transition to go into your number one?
I think it is a good transition because my number one is, of course, Baby Driver.
Hey, by the way, the girl's name is Deborah.
Deborah.
Great girl.
Got it.
No, man, I mean, I get it.
Because there's that song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the intro I like. I do like it, but
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I'd be lying if I said it like that sold me, because it was. I mean, the only issue I have with this movie sometimes is that it is not as creative as I think people give it credit for. That being said, I think the movie exceeds in other things than its creativity.
I can get on board with that for sure. I mean, we always respect an original idea, but even if it's not original, as long as it's its own thing and it does it well, then I don't have a problem with it too. And I think that's what you're saying. If you want to
go back to a year ago and listen to our Drive podcast, you can hear about Baby Driver in a way.
Yeah. Wow, maybe a little bit of shade.
Sorry, shots fired, but like that's just the point I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. But that is my number one, and that concludes my list from Logan, Spider-Man Homecoming, John Wick 2, Get Out, and lastly, Baby Driver. Kyle, what makes your number one movie
Now, Baby Driver almost made it number one. You saw me kind of live in person almost contemplate that. But number one for me is going to be Sofia Coppola's The Beguiled. This movie is just, it's still kind of festering in my head, to be honest with you.
I've yet to see it, actually.
Because I actually sat down to write a review for this. Yeah. And, this might sound negative in a way, but not a lot was coming to me to, give, a point of view or a question to ask or an idea to put to the table, which is kind of what I like to do with a written review. And there wasn't just anything coming to me. But then I kind of realized that it's because everything that I was given was left on the screen in a way.
It was, substantial. There was nothing to elaborate on?
Well, there's a lot to elaborate on, and more or less, I just think it's very simple ideas that need to be elaborated on. It's not like digging into a hidden idea or a hidden metaphor. It's like what she laid on the script and what she laid on the screen is exactly what's there. So it's almost like, although there's a lot to talk about and say what I liked or what I didn't like, there's not a lot to elaborate on in a philosophical sense, I feel. Which is interesting because with a film like this, I was kind of expecting to. And I think maybe that's why I was having a hard time articulating ideas to write about. But, I mean, the movie is just so fucking beautiful. It's this soft Southern Gothic, atmosphere that really just brings you in. And the movie sits at 92 minutes, hour and a half, beautiful time, and it's short, it's sweet, it's to the point, it creates the tension when it needs to, it creates the conflict when it has to, and the performances only, exacerbate that, and it strengthens every single scene in this movie to a T. It's very, very calculated, and there's not a lot of, quietness and long shots with which Sofia Coppola is very famous for. Although they do creep their way in, they're almost cut in half in a way, because the runtime, of course.
I can definitely appreciate when a director or writer is clearly trying something new and even doing it well. Because if you're trying something new and doing a terrible job of it, it's kind of like, all right, maybe let's go back to what you're doing before. That was better.
Yeah, she's trying something new, and even better than yet, she's doing an adapted material. This is based off a novel, and it's also a Clint Eastwood film from the 1970s.
So something new and something new for her, right?
Yeah, and she's building upon that in her style, because even though some of these tropes that you would even say are maybe lacking, it feels so much like a Sofia Coppola movie. And I mean, up into this movie, I was watching all of her filmography. I've actually yet to see Kirsten Dunst. She's like a princess or something. Let Them Eat Cake. History. King Henry the 16th. Marie Antoinette.
Oh,
I've yet to watch Marie Antoinette.
Forgot about that.
I've been meaning to. I actually have the DVD.
That's another theme of movie that kind of just bores me a little bit sometimes.
Like royal period pieces.
Yeah, like Macbeth. That's I would still see Macbeth, but because of our boy Fassbender being in it.
Big dick.
Yeah.
Huge cock.
But
no, I mean, I'm with you on that. I'll watch it one day. But I don't know. I think I'll just say this. It is the film that stayed with me the most this year. It's the film when I just picture one still in my head. It's the entire color palette's there, the entire set design is there, and I get the entire emotion of the way the film is trying to get across. And I think that's just expert filmmaking, and that's just a great telling of her craft. She won Best Director at Cannes this year for it. And I think Sofia Coppola is just becoming one of my favorite directors. She's fucking nailing it. I think Somewhere is super underrated. Watch that. That's Kyle's pick of the week. Somewhere by Sofia Coppola. Anyways, Beguiled's my number one. So
maybe go over your list a little bit.
Yeah. So number 5 is Colossal. Number 4 is Logan. Number 3 is Get Out. Number 2, Baby Driver. And number 1, The Beguiled. that's been it for 2017 so far.
And I think we're going to leave it here, but quickly, maybe another honorable mention. What's that movie Gavin saw instead of Spirited Away at the Roxy the other night?
Oh, I recently watched that.
Have Mercy?
Certain Women.
Certain Women.
Have Mercy. No, Certain Women, that actually came out last year, technically.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, it's on DVD already. Just the theater in our city just played it so late and it's run. But I would recommend Certain Women. That's a solid 4.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd right now.
Damn. If you are curious to check us out, guys, before the break, make sure to go to www.letterboxd.com/thesecondviewing.
/TSV,
/TSV, my bad. You can also donate to us on Patreon at www.patreon.com/thesecondviewing.
We're going to take a break right now. We'll come right back with some upcoming releases. We're taking our time. It's been half a year, so we can take half a year making this cast. We'll see you there.
And we're back, folks. We've just taken a little breather. We've restocked the old cooler, and we're going to get back to you guys and start talking a little bit about our movie, our
upcoming releases.
Our
movie
releases,
wishes,
yeah.
Our movie wants, the things we're excited to see for the rest of the year here. This year of 2017, of course. Yeah. We actually honestly have a lot of fucking movies down here. We're going to try and just concise as much as we can, I think.
And I didn't try to number these guys because, well, I mean...
No. I put them in terms of a release date, I guess. I didn't even write the dates, but just like in order of when they're supposed to come out.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you want to kick it off with one of yours, Kyle?
Okay, well, this one, I don't actually know when it's gonna come out, but I know it's gonna be a Netflix release. It premiered at Cannes like 2 months ago, so as far as I'm concerned, it could come out at any moment now. And that's The Meyerowitz Stories, which stars our friend and yours, Adam Sandler. And
fucking respect.
is directed by Noah Baumbach, who has done a lot of movies like The Squid and the Whale, Francis Ha.
And really, Adam Sandler's cast for this movie.
Yeah.
Wow.
And also Ben Stiller's in it. But Ben Stiller and Noah Baumbach have a colorful past. They've been in a lot of films together. So that doesn't actually surprise me a whole lot. But, I mean, you get Ben Stiller, you get Adam Sandler, Emma Thompson, Dustin Hoffman. It sounds like it's going to be really interesting.
You think Adam
Driver's in here too, actually.
Do you think Adam Sandler's going to try and make like a comeback because everyone's been talking shit on him for like the last 5 years?
Honestly, no. I think this will be a one-off, like, decent movie that he makes, and then he makes 10 more shitty ones. It's like Punch Drunk Love, Funny People. Like, he always makes 1 or 2 good movies, and then he just has explosive
the rest is
diarrhea.
Filled with garbage.
Just shits all over everyone's face.
Well,
but I'm excited.
Because you have a few more movies to choose from me, why don't you go ahead and jump into your next one as well?
Sure. Well, I will just elaborate a little bit on Meyerowitz Stories, that it's some sort of, like, New York, like, crime newspaper sort of situation. I don't really know. There's not much information on it, but just the reviews coming out of Cannes is saying that it's going to be fantastic.
Journalism on crime in New York?
Yeah, something like that. But honestly, just the people involved get me excited, so that's when I'm looking forward to that one. And another one I'll bring up, which also premiered at Cannes, is Good Time with Robert Pattinson. Now, I don't think you've seen the trailer for this one, Dem, but
no, I haven't.
I highly recommend you peep game because it seems like a movie you would really enjoy.
Okay.
It has Robert Pattinson in the lead role, and it's kind of this... I guess another like crime thriller, I guess, where there's some sort of gang activity where Robert Pattinson and his brother are getting involved, and his brother goes to jail, and he wants to basically pay bail to get his brother out of jail, and he has to go through a lot of leaps and bounds to do that, and has to meet, from what the trailer shows, a lot of like hilarious and like interesting characters,
shady characters
to kind of make that happen. And just the look and the style of the film is the kind of, that nice dark, like nighttime neon look, really interesting.
Yeah.
And I mean, just based off the 3-minute trailer that's out there that we can link in the show notes, you guys can take a look at. It looks like a lot of fun. It's getting put through A24, who's probably one of my favorite producers, and they're doing a lot of good flicks. Spring Breakers, notably. American Honey, notably. Under the Skin, notably. A lot of my faves. Anyway, so not a lot to say, I guess, because there's not much information out, except for those who saw it at Cannes. But
pay attention for this, guys, because it's starting to look like a cool flick.
Totally. Yeah, what's one you want to bring up to the table here?
I guess I'll bring up Blade Runner 2049. I know it's on both of our lists. I'm excited for this movie I'm like almost resentfully excited for this movie.
Dang. Why so? What do you mean by that?
Mainly because of interviews I've seen of Ridley Scott in the last like few months and how much of a fucking tool he is, and also Alien Covenant kind of being like.
I never did see that. Apparently, it's like not very good, but it never looked good. I'll be honest.
Exactly. It's. I don't understand why it exists. I guess is.
Ridley Scott's a weird guy, right? Because like he makes a lot of fucking trash, but then he'll come out and make like a really good flick, like The Martian, or he'll make like Gladiator, like like the guy.
Well, and Blade Runner's considered I guess like a sci-fi classic, right?
Oh, 100%, definitely, yeah, of course. But I'm just talking even in the last like 10, 15 years. Like the guy's been so uneven in terms of quality with his releases.
Right.
So I guess though a positive out of this is that he's not directing it; he's producing it. Denis Villeneuve, who directed Arrival, is directing this film.
Right.
So, I mean, and Denis has, all of his movies are fucking great. Passengers is great. Incendiaries is great. Enemy is great. The guy's on fire, actually, at this point. I'll be honest with you. And I liked Arrival enough to be excited about this one.
Oh, for sure. Like, I'm excited about it. I guess I said I'm resentfully excited about it because... I don't know. I've heard some shit that Ridley Scott has been talking about doing and showing off and bringing to light. I don't know if I want to spoil it. Can I spoil the first Blade Runner? It's been out for fucking 40 years.
You can definitely spoil that. Yeah.
Okay, so like the replicants being or spoiling the fact that what's his name is a replicant. Yeah. Ridley Scott's been talking about fucking bringing that to life, but in my mind.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense because they're not supposed to live as long as they have. And if he is a replicant, how did he go in hiding and make it out alive? And I get that he retired and kind of fell in love with the replicant, but
those are the obvious questions. Now, I guess the only thing that will tell if it's a good film or not is if those questions are answered and if those answers make sense.
Right.
And if they do, then cool. And if not, then I'm with you in thinking. Then I just think
the fact that some of these questions are fucking like the fact that Ridley Scott has been fighting so hard for Harrison Ford to have been a replicant is almost kind of frustrating in itself.
I think that's a good thing. If he's really fighting for it, then he must have reasoning behind it. Therefore, there's probably something that is really pushing those ideas forward rather than just being like, okay, I'm just going to change this because I want to change it and this is what it is now.
I guess it just changes my original idea of Blade Runner, and so it makes things a little bit different going into it. Not to say I'm not excited for it. Like the trailer looks dope. Ryan Gosling playing another cool guy character. He's a good cool guy.
I don't know. Like Blade Runner was never a film for me that was such an important part of my life as much as I enjoy it. But I do get that there's a large amount of people out there that are feeling like, why is this movie being made? Like, if you're going to make it, don't fuck with my Blade Runner kind of idea. Yeah. I totally get that.
The diehards out there.
But I'm guess I'm more of the camp just to say, like, wait till it comes out and see what it's like.
Yeah.
Until then, be cautiously optimistic kind of thing.
That would be a better way to put.
Yeah. And I think, I think your worries are justified, and that's totally reasonable. But I'm looking forward to it as well, and hopefully it delivers. I'm excited.
We shall see. Is there another one on your list, Colin?
We got a lot to talk about. The next one, of course, is Battle of the Sexes. Now, listen, have you seen this trailer? It's with Steve Carell and Emma Stone. They're tennis players.
Oh, yeah, I have seen this trailer. Yeah.
See, now, this movie is like your typical fucking Sundance movie, if I've ever seen one. But, that being said, I'm only stoked because it's the same directors of Little Miss Sunshine, and I love Little Miss Sunshine. It's a fantastic film. That was
going to be a little bit gritty, maybe.
Well, maybe not gritty, but more like dark humor, I think, is really going to be a good element of it. And in the trailer, you see Steve Carell being like this, just like chauvinistic scumbag, and but doing it fucking well because the guy's hilarious. And Emma Stone's this really hard-hitting and strong woman who's just trying to basically beat the guy who's talking shit on her so hard. And they have this rivalry that looks interesting and entertaining. And I think they're just two lead roles that I haven't seen together in this dynamic that I think will work together well on screen. And I'm excited to see that
for sure. That's a good one to bring up that actually I definitely overlooked. But I'm excited for that.
I'm stoked. I mean, it's hard to say how exciting I'll feel about it afterwards because it's not one of those films that feels like it's going to blow me away, but it's one of those movies I'm really looking forward to just to getting some enjoyment out of, I think.
Yeah, and talking about movies to come is always difficult because you really don't know enough to be excited.
But I do get that lighthearted and serious feeling of Little Miss Sunshine even from this trailer. Yeah. And that was a film that's actually really important to me just because that was one of those first movies I ever saw, and I could You know when you're younger and all you ever see is like blockbusters, like your Spider-Mans and I don't know, maybe Star Wars.
Happy endings.
All you ever, not even that, but just like these huge movies. Like the only movies you ever see at the theater are like the biggest movies of the year when you're younger, you know? But then when I was of a slightly older age, I saw Little Miss Sunshine, and that was the first movie I saw when I realized that this is like an independent film. This isn't like made by the same guy who made Jaws. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like there was something behind this that's a little bit of a smaller budget and is a little bit more unknown or obtuse, and I really connected with that and would grow to appreciate that over the years, and because of that it really sticks in my memory, so I'm excited to see their next work. And the next one I think we're both very excited to see, which coming from our boy Yorgos Lanthimos, who we've talked about on the show many times in past reviews of Dogtooth and of course The Lobster, which you got the poster back here for, and his new film of course is The Killing of a Sacred Deer, which
looks fucking dark.
Yeah, I from what I understand, this movie is just very depressing.
Which is saying a lot for Yorgos here.
Well, I mean, the guy's really dark in his imagery, and his kind of like deadpan nature, but never directly dark.
Yeah,
you know?
There's a lighthearted, or like there's an innocence to his film.
And there's even comedy in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I mean, there's no official trailer of this film. There's a few clips that I've actually stayed away from watching just because I like to if I can.
I have watched one of the clips. But...
and the poster alone gets me excited because I just want that fucking poster that will be in my room, framed if possible.
That's going to be a big one that I'm excited for sure. That one is, and
it's starring our boy still. Starring our boy, a good old Colin Farrell, killing it again. The guy's killing it. I forgot to mention this earlier, but in The Beguiled, he kills it again.
Yeah, and you used to hate him a long time ago.
Yeah, I wasn't into him. The guy was always fighting around the world. I wasn't into it. Now he's taking names and he's rocking games. I'm into it.
Taking names and rocking games.
Yeah.
You heard it here first, folks.
I love it. So that's exciting.
Yeah, we're moving right along. I think there's like actually 2 left for me. No, there's 3 left for me.
What's the next one then? What's going to be for you?
The other 2 I know we agree on, so I'll bring up this one. It's Kingsman: Golden Circle.
Oh, the sequel to Kingsman: Secret Service?
It was a fun spy movie.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it was like a kind of a new take on a James Bondish type movie with a younger, fairly relatable kid. I think I liked it overall.
Oh, that movie doesn't even take itself serious for a minute, and because of that, I love it. It's so endearing.
Yeah,
it has that like joyfulness of it, but yet it has like the gritty action of like a James Bond film.
Yeah, which made it really, really fun. So I'm excited to have some fun with that in theaters soon.
Yeah, and the sequel looks good too, based off the trailer.
I think I want to say it comes out like September-ish, so it's pretty quick here.
That sounds about right to me too. Yeah, I mean, if it's anything like the first, I think it'll be a good time. Then I'll get into one that I know we're both excited for. And we got some history about this one a little bit, I guess, technically. We've never really officially talked about this.
Yeah, but we should bring it up because
this might be a good time.
It's a good story.
Okay, so this next flick is The Disaster Artist, starring James Franco, Dave Franco, Seth Rogen, Josh Hutcherson.
Like all of the crew.
And Sugarland Beard, which adds to my theory that Sugar from the Zone is...
fucking Seth Rogen?
Yes, and/or grew up with him in Vancouver, because they're both in Vancouver, and
all of a sudden he's in...
She's been in a lot of things connected directly with him. I mean, I don't know if it's coincidence. Well, that's for another day.
I think maybe they could be fucking.
I'm not opposed to that.
I think Seth Rogen is
she got that high-pitched voice that I think Seth Rogen would be into.
Well, he's got that dopey laugh, you know what I'm saying?
I
feel like he would enjoy fucking Sugar. He'd be... and she'd be like, hey, I'm Sugar. Sorry, wow. Is that too much?
I'm going no comment, strictly on that. But
all right,
nonetheless, it's got a colorful cast of characters going on in this movie. A lot of good actors, big names for small parts, which is kind of hilarious. Now, what this movie is a movie based on the story of The Room called The Disaster Artist, written by Greg Sestero.
Yeah, so it's...
Who plays Mark in the movie.
A movie based off a book of a movie.
Yes. Now, of course, the movie, the thing at the epicenter of this is what's called the worst, best movie of all time, basically, which is The Room, which came out in 2003. Directed, produced, written, everything done by Tommy Wiseau, the madman himself. And
he is quite a fucking character. Kyle can tell you because he's met him a couple of times. Right?
I met him. I mean, if I decide to bring up a photo, I'll put it right here. But I met the man a couple times, and he was doing some promotion for, I guess it must have been the 10th anniversary of The Room, technically. And there was a screening, and he came in person to our local theater where I was working at. And Greg Sestero was there as well, actually promoting the release of The Disaster Artist as well. Yeah. It was just a weird coincidence that he asked me to do some work for him, so I did some work for him, and I was in correspondence with Tommy Wiseau for a while, and I once even got a phone call while I was working at Toys R Us at the time in the break room. On break, sitting there, and I get his phone call from, like, Wyoming, because he was still on tour, I guess, and he says, hello? And I say, hello, this is Tommy Wiseau, director of The Room. Is Kyle there? And my mind is like, what the fuck is going on right now? What kind of world do I live in? And so, honestly, really nice dude.
It's so good. We should almost tweet at Seth Rogen and be like, Tommy Wiseau, I did work for Tommy Wiseau once. I have something to add to the story or something.
Maybe. It was interesting. If Tommy, you're watching this, shout out.
We love Tommy Wiseau. We got nothing bad to say about Tommy. He's fucking fantastic. He's weird, but he's cool.
It's a funny dude, and the book based off that, of course, is called The Disaster Artist, and Seth Rogen and James Franco bought the film rights to that book to make a live action film based on it, and based on the 2-minute trailer that just got posted a couple days ago, it looks fucking hilarious. Based off some reviews coming out of South by Southwest, people are saying James Franco's performance is Oscar-worthy. So, and I was so skeptical hearing that he was going to... I was excited for him to buy the rights to it. I thought that was a good choice.
Yeah.
But when I heard he was going to play Tommy, I was a little I don't know. And then when I heard Dave Franco was going to play Greg, again, I was a little I don't know. But then when I saw them in character, I was like, okay, fuck it, I'm into it.
Oh, it's so good because, in the trailer, Dave Franco, who plays Greg, is yelling at Tommy, hey, man, good job.
And that's honestly, I've met Greg as well. That's exactly how that guy is, honestly. He's just a fucking teddy bear. It's a nice guy, salt of the earth kind of guy. In fact, when I first met him, he was wearing the scorpion jacket from Drive.
No way.
A badass. Yeah.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. That's going to be really exciting. That's going to be a big one. I've been looking forward to that for 3 or 4 years now. So I'm happy, that's finally coming out.
Yeah.
And another big one, which I think that maybe the whole world's excited for, I guess.
That's right.
Is Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. There you go. That's it.
I'm not going to sing any more of the song because I'll fuck it up and everyone will hate me.
Whoa. You're getting really hard on yourself there, man. I think you would have done a good job.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you saying that.
I'll hit you back when I can. Episode 8, though. We have extended thoughts on Rogue One. You guys can look at that in the show notes below. Also, I think the second episode or third episode of this show? Is it the second episode of the podcast? I can't remember. Drew, do you remember what episode of the podcast, Star Wars? Episode 3 of the podcast or so is the Star Wars Episode 7, Force Awakens.
Right.
So that was Awakens. The second viewing has some deep roots in Star Wars.
We do, yeah. Star Wars is a part of us now, and we'll be reviewing them for the next 30 years as the movies continue to come out on every Christmas.
Yeah, I was thinking
and then a couple of filler.
I was thinking that it's sad to know that I'll probably won't be alive to know what the story ends. Do you know what I mean?
That's fucking so depressing. Wow. That is...
Episode 2, apparently. We got confirmation. So that was the first episode of the show we actually recorded in this very room in a much, much, much worse setup than we currently have. And the second episode we recorded with our great member, Drew, here, in his setup in his place a long time ago as well. And that was a lot of fun. There was a leap in quality, a leap in structure, and a lot of stuff for us. So, yeah, again, we're excited to see it. I actually know nothing about this because I've refrained entirely from it. I haven't watched a trailer. I haven't read a synopsis. I know nothing about it. All I've seen is the damn poster, which I might say looks fucking tight.
The poster looks dope. It definitely looks dope.
We actually went to go see a screening of Spirited Away a couple days ago, and they played a trailer for The Last Jedi, and I looked away and plugged my ears.
It's true. Honestly, the trailer gives away as much as the poster does.
Okay, well, that's what I hear, but I just don't want to see motion visuals. I'll put it that way.
Fair enough. Fair enough, dude. No
I'm trying
spoilers.
to go in blind because I did that with Force Awakens, and I was pleasantly...
It's going to be a good Christmas. It's shaping up
Christmas
to be
is Star
a good
Wars.
year, guys.
That's just how it is. Christmas is Star Wars. And the last one I will mention... is The Phantom Thread, which there's very little information about this movie. It's directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, who did Inherent Vice, There'll Be Blood, Boogie Nights.
Oh, yeah. Good. Cool.
One of the best directors, honestly, still making film right now. He's going to star Daniel Day-Lewis, the man himself, one of the best actors ever. Played Lincoln, of course. He was in My Left Foot. There Will Be Blood as well.
Yeah.
And this is going to be his last acting role. And apparently he's a fashion designer in like London or LA or something.
Well, Daniel Day-Lewis is like known for getting hella into his roles, like staying in character for months beforehand.
He's a character actor, if there ever was one. And the score is going to be done by Johnny Greenwood, the guitarist for Radiohead. So there's a lot of really good names behind this.
That's fucking cool. That's gonna be very exciting.
So, and that's supposed to come out on Christmas Day, allegedly. So we'll see when we actually end up seeing that ourselves.
I guess sorry, go ahead.
But more or less, it's just like there's a lot of mystery behind it, which I'm kind of excited for. Although I will say, the way I see the build up to this film, I feel a lot about Silence, where it was like great director, great cast, interesting idea. And then you almost hear no information about it until like the week it comes out. I'm feeling a similar vibe. Not necessarily that means it's going to be bad or good. But I kind of like that mystery about it, I think, in a way.
I like that too, but I think like a decent marketing push towards the end just to help the overall success of the movie, because the more people get out and see new, fresh ideas like this, the more we can get away from the fucking remakes and the retellings of other stories, which is fine, but in doses.
Well, I mean, even if it's based off a true story, I'm game with that. That's fine. Yeah. It's bringing a story to the screen.
You know what? I just thought of one more movie, Kyle. That
what's that?
It's not on the top of my list for this year, but I've yet to see it. I think it might already be out in other places. But Ingrid Goes to California, or Ingrid
Goes West.
Ingrid Goes West.
That's coming out in like 2 months. That'll be out pretty quick.
So I'm kind of excited for that one.
That one looks good. I mean, Audrey Plaza killing it as always. That was on like a longer list. I had like 20 here for a while. That was on there.
Right. It's like does look good. Like a stalker story. Yeah, it does seem interesting. But anyway,
that'll be playing locally fairly soon, actually. So we'll make sure to take a look at that.
Oh, respect.
But I think, thank you for sitting with us, guys. If you made it all this way through, we had a lot of good movies to talk about. I think I opened up this show talking about how there maybe wasn't a lot of good movies, heavy hitters this year so far, but as we went through our lists, I really did realize that there was a lot of good film this year so far.
It is comforting to know that there's lots of good film, hopefully, come, knock on wood there, guys.
Like, to me it seems like there's a lot of, like, sure things, though. Do you know what I mean? Like, some of the ones we just talked about seem like maybe they're not going to...
The elements are already there. It's already halfway
They might not necessarily, like, blow away our expectations, but they look good enough to be like, oh, that was a good flick. Do you kind of know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I'm all aboard for that. I'm stoked. I don't know, guys. Is that anything else you want to add to the show here, man?
No, I concur.
Should we wrap things up?
It's going to be a good year for movies, hopefully.
Then, if you guys would like to, please make sure to subscribe right here if you're on YouTube. If you're listening on iTunes, subscribe there as well. Google Play Music, all that stuff, subscribe there. If SoundCloud still exists while listening to this, follow us there. We need to look into that, because if that actually does go under, we need to find a different way to host this place. So we're looking into that slowly. Chance the Rapper might be saving it. I don't really know. Other than that, of course, social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can follow us there. We're posting stuff there every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, of course. And if you feel so inclined, you can donate to us on Patreon. That is patreon.com/secondviewing. We have some rewards there, and just a great way to help out the show. Anything I'm missing here, Dan?
I think that's it. I think we've covered it all.
Well, as always, guys, thank you for listening to the Second Viewing Podcast. And we'll see you guys next week, or even sooner this Friday, for an episode of Your Ass is Degrassi. My name's Kyle.
And I'm Dan.
See you later.